if you ladies would just introduce yourselves, please. Alexis, we can start with you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Alexis Jones. I am a native New Yorker, born and raised in the Bronx, New York. I've been surfing the Rockaways on and off for the past 6 years. Profession, I'm a biomedical scientist, and I love surfing. Surfing is literally everything to me. It's a way of life, and I'm so very blessed to be able to share my love of the ocean with so many other people. And it's been such a wild ride and so fun. And I'm excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Autumn?
My name is Autumn. I have been surfing in the Rockaways for about 7, 8 years. I'm a surf instructor. I work with Kwame. I'm a student at Pace University studying biochemistry and psychology. Sorry, someone's cooking right now. But yeah, surfing, like Alexis said, is so important to me. It is my home. I don't feel as comfortable on land as I do in the water. And I feel like this summer is the time that I felt like I became a part of this community, and that just kind of elevated the importance of surfing for me. But yeah.
Thank you. Zoe?
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm glad to be here. I've been surfing about 10 years now. Please excuse my background. I'm still at work. I live in Rockaway and have been surfing there the majority of all the time I've surfed, minus 2 years I lived in Hawaii, which is very drastically different surf community than Rockaway. Yeah. That's about it. Surfing is everything for me. But yep.
Thank you. Hey, Tom?
Hello. Excuse me. My name is Atongila Monique. I've been surfing in the Rockaways on and off for about 4 years. I just moved here in the Rockaways from Flatbush, Brooklyn. I used to bike it here nearly every day, especially last summer, to get my surf on. I'm also a rock climber, so I love the outdoors. Anything to do with the outdoors, I absolutely love and enjoy. And I feel like surfing and climbing complement each other. And I'm also a co-organizer with La Rubea, the La Rubea Collective, where we provide free surf lessons for the youth here in the Rockaways.
Should I go since I'm right next to her?
No, I was just going to say, Meru, please.
Okay. My name is Terumi Murao, and I am Atongilar's roommate. I'm also a co-organizer with La Rubea. I have been surfing for 6 years now. I started in California, where I'm from, but I didn't really fall in love with it until I moved to until I moved to New York, because I didn't ever really feel like I found my people in the surf community in California. It felt a little bit elitist, and I felt left out, and I met at Tongular and a lot of other people of color that like completely embraced me, and now it's my family.
Thank you. And Carolyn?
Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn. I'm a newbie surfer. I started surfing actually the beginning of this summer, and my daughter and I both fell in love with it. She got a lot better than me, so so we found surfing through a local organization that was giving free kids lessons. So we fell in love with surfing that way, and we found a surfing community of surf moms and other families, and just people, mostly surfers of color. So we created a really great community this summer, and I work for the city. I'm a mom of 2, and just for full transparency, it was me who asked Kwame that question.
Well, thank you very much. So just to go through the question one more time. So the question that was asked was, how would you address the predatory behavior in the surf community towards women? I want to get it correct. And when I initially read the question, a couple of things popped into my head. A couple of answers actually popped into my head. The first was, are we referring to, women who paddle out into the lineup and, when there are men out there, they make disparaging remarks or derogatory remarks or sexist remarks because of how somebody may look, or because they're wearing a bikini, or because of the way they look in their wetsuit. And the second way I thought about it was, for those of you who may not have ever surfed, all of us are mainly, New York Rockaway surfers. But for those of you who may be seeing this now or seeing this later on, for those of you who don't know, Rockaway is mainly a left break. So someone may be paddling for a wave, look to their right, see that that person is a woman, and then think to themselves, oh, I can go. It's only a woman. Because at that point, in their heads, the person who has the right of way on the wave is quote unquote weaker than they are. So that actually is a form of predatory behavior as well. The third way, which we spoke about, was that there are individuals, whether they be instructors, surfers, just people in the surf community who use their status in the community to quote unquote to hook up, to try to get one over on women, to basically try to be with as many women as possible, because that's just where their mindset is. And then the fourth way, which we actually spoke about this evening, was the actual community of the corporate community, because there's not a lot of anything really geared towards female surfers. And yes, we all know now that the WSL purse for women is equal to the men. Great, lovely, wonderful, but that should have been done years ago. And I'll let the ladies speak to that more than I will. But these are the different ways in which we can interpret the question. And I guess I'd like to start off with anyone in the panel, whichever one of those resonates with you the most, or if there's one that doesn't, then please feel free to speak about it.
I guess I can go, since I was the one that posed that question to you, Kwame, and kind of like my intentions when you first had posted that box. I had started typing it, but I hesitated because I'm like, I'm opening a can of worms. I don't know what your reaction would be. So I actually waited the next day and thought about it to ask. And then I said, you know what? I think this is an important question that needs to be addressed, just because my own experience this past summer was of that. And so I didn't know what to expect, right? I think a lot of times, like, honestly, I didn't know if you would be an ally, if you were a predator, or, like, I didn't know what would happen if I asked that question. And, I really do appreciate that you took the time to pull this together so that we could actually have this conversation. But where I was coming from was the people in the community who have power, who have the respect, who use that power to exploit that against women surfers. And that to me is just really horrible, because I come to surf with my daughters because I'm looking for a safe space, and I don't ever want to feel like I'm being put in a position that I'm being preyed on, that my daughter sees that this is an okay behavior for men towards women. And then in terms of speaking with other female surfers, like, what does accountability look like? Like, if we call out somebody for these toxic, predatory behaviors, what happens then, right? What happens to that person? What does accountability look like? And so that was kind of my intentions, because I'm tired of it. Like, we're in 2020. We should not really be dealing with this. The ocean belongs to everybody. Everybody should be able to be out there and learn, and feel safe doing so, and not feel like, oh, if I wear this type of clothing, or if I, am unsure, if I ask this person, then it's going to lead to maybe harassment or advances or just unwanted behavior. And that is definitely not what I want my daughters to experience growing up in the surf community. So that was kind of where I was coming from.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone want to piggyback off of that?
Sure. Actually, it's interesting because which one I relate to most changed in my time surfing. When I was new, I relate so much to that predatory behavior of having comments said to me that were inappropriate, or getting hit on in the water, or a guy trying to like take me under his wing, but not really. And really early on, I think I was slower to learn because I learned quickly not to trust any guys in the water. And I also always wore clothes over my bathing suit. Like I always had board shorts on, a t-shirt over it, because I got tired really quickly of any sort of like commentary, or even just like unwanted stares in the water. I wanted to be just treated as another surfer. But now I relate most to, I'm a woman, so it's okay to drop in on me, or more commonly, it's okay to paddle directly right of me. And I end up in some like weird game of trying to get farther right, and then and a guy just thinking it's okay to act like that, and that I have to actually like get much more aggressive than I naturally am as a human to show that I deserve that wave. When honestly, if I couldn't even surf, I still deserve a wave. I still deserve to take off on it.
Right.
But,
Hey Tom, I'm going to go down to you guys because I saw you guys laugh when she said about the guy, somebody taking somebody under their wing.
Yeah, so similar to Zoe, in the beginning when I first was learning how to surf, I had guys make comments towards me as well. And I've also had, this is the thing that really, really irked me, was there was another guy who expressed attraction towards me, and he was getting a surf lesson. And I remember hearing him and the surf instructor like they were in cahoots planning something. And I remember catching a wave, riding a sweet left, and all of a sudden right behind me, this board just like ran into me. And the guy on the board fell off, apologized, and then tried to start a conversation with me. But I was so upset and so livid that he did that, because that was dangerous. You know, you just don't know how that could have been such a bad accident, you know. And I said that to him and expressed how angry I was at that and how I didn't appreciate that, and didn't give him the opportunity to run his lines or whatever it is that he was trying to do. But what was ultimately frustrating was that he had support in that type of behavior, right? It was support, it was approval, it was a plan, it was calculated, and they went through with it, and that was unfortunate. In regards to those taking you under your wings, I've had friends who received surf lessons from other guys and them rubbing themselves up against them, supposedly accidentally, while helping them with lessons. And I haven't had that experience, thankfully, but unfortunately, I have friends who have had that experience.
Yeah, so I would be one of those that have had that experience. I took a lesson over here on 67th about 6 years ago when I was first starting out. And, you know, these lessons are not cheap. They're $100. And I really wanted to focus on my technique and learning how to catch waves. And, you know, at this point, I was so eager to learn. And I remember I went to the lesson, you know, we met up on the beach, we get in the water, and you're hitting on me the entire hour that I'm in the water. Never coached me into a wave. Never, I mean, not even doing the push and telling me to pop up, which is like the standard surf instruction thing, nothing. Literally, he sat on the board, he bobbed around with me and just talked to me the whole time. Where are you from? And how are you doing? Oh, you're so pretty. Are you mixed? Are you this? And literally, I was like losing my freaking mind the entire lesson. I literally went right back to that shop and I was like, I want my money back and I need somebody else to go out with me. And it was like this whole big thing. And I'm just seeing that that's kind of a commonplace. Like, it happens to a lot of women. And if you're not assertive enough to say something, I feel like that's kind of where it starts, right? We have to be brave enough to correct it and to call it out when we see it, which is a very difficult thing for people to do.
Yeah. Autumn, do you have anything to share?
I definitely haven't had an experience where I've been like hit on or made to feel uncomfortable in that way, but I've definitely had
Well,
the
that's because you're usually standing next to me, and if I see anybody doing anything, then it's on.
exactly. And I look like I'm like 10 years old. So, but the one thing that I've experienced since the moment I went out surfing was this feeling to be made to feel like I don't belong and that I'm less than and that I don't know how to surf and I have to prove myself before I can be treated as someone who deserves to be in the lineup. And that is something that has been really difficult for me to come to terms with. It's something that has prevented me from surfing. I think, and this summer I experienced something that kind of really changed that. There was a group of guys. I was surfing for the first time with a group of women, which I had never experienced, like 7 women. And it was so amazing. It was such an encouraging environment. And these group of guys came and they were speaking so horribly about us, saying that we didn't know how to surf, calling women like ugly, all of these horrible things. And they ended up taking pictures of us because we were surfing when we should have surfed, but they felt like it was their ocean. Posted pictures, all of these things, and that kind of enforced this feeling of like, I cannot be in the water without someone who can protect me. And that's something that I don't think anyone should feel. I teach kids how to surf all of the time, and I don't think that that kind of environment should be perpetuated or allowed anymore.
No, you're absolutely right. Just really quickly to the audience, if you have any questions, and all you can do is click on the Q&A and type your questions in there as they come along, and we'll try to answer any questions you may have, or any scenarios, or anything, any comments that you may have with what you're hearing so far. So please feel free to do that. So Karen, I'd like to go back to you for a second. We spoke about accountability, and you said that, if I remember correctly, you said that, this is based on what happened with you. You saw that this was not something that was new. However, it should not happen. Do you have any thoughts on, or rather, actually, before you have any thoughts, like what did you and the other surf moms that you worked with, that you surfed with, was there anything that you guys did? And if not, then do you have any ideas of what you could have done or would do in the future?
I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot, about what does accountability look like. I mean, I think off the top of my head, it's like, let's call that bullshit out, right? Let's put that person on blast. And I've also have really had to grapple with that, because that one particular person is respected by a lot of people during this time, when there's so much going on in this world. The Black Lives Matter movement is going on strong. So, I've had to grapple like, well, if I speak out about this, am I going to be seen as somebody taking down a Black man? Is somebody just bitter? Am I going to be seen as like somebody who is just upset and just portrayed, and my character be dismissed? And so I really don't know. Like, part of me is also like, why do I need to come up with that solution, right? I'm not the one out here doing those toxic behaviors, but why do I have to do the labor of coming up with the solution? To me, that seems unfair, right? And so, I mean, I would love to call this person out, but what does that really mean, right? What tangible solutions would come out of it? And what I've always just grappled with a lot of like movements is that a lot of men in power, it seems like they don't want justice, they just want power. And I think that needs to be called out too, because we're not going to get far advancing social justice if people in power use it to exploit it for their own good. So I mean, I don't really know. I don't know what that looks like, and I'm sorry I don't have a
Oh, no,
solution.
please.
But I think for the surf moms and I, it's like we don't want that toxic behavior around our kids, both our daughters or our sons. I would love to blast this person. I would love to stop their involvement because I think it's such a long history of harassing people, harassing surf moms, harassing young girls. And it's just, I think it needs to stop. I think the surf community needs to be aware like this is going on. And like we can't be supportive of that, especially in this time.
Yep. Thank you. Zoe, you had said that like right now, you identified with everything else, of course, that was said before, but you spoke particularly about when you're paddling and you feel like you have to be more aggressive in the lineup or going for your own ways than you normally would be. I guess my question is it something now that you step into the water and you're like, okay, I have to be aggressive, or is it something that it's almost like a reaction to someone else's action towards you? And if so, how exactly does that feel with it?
Totally. I don't think I usually step in the water with the like putting on my armor anymore and like with the plan of being aggressive. I do plan surfing around not trying to be where I don't have to deal with it as much, whether that means like surfing with a bunch of my girlfriends or it means surfing somewhere that may not be as good a wave, but I at least know that I'll have more space, or it's like a better, more comfy or like posy group of people out there. But often, more often than not, I end up in some aggressive situation where somebody is like repetitively being aggressive. I've decided it's no longer an accident, because we all make like, boo-boos. Like I've dropped in on people and this and that, but it's like, no, this person is clearly doing this intentionally. And then it feels uncomfortable. I want to get out of the water. Like I have to, brace myself, be like, I am not going to like back down from this. And that is way out of my character. I also appreciate what you said, Carolyn, about like, I keep thinking about what I should be doing differently, but you're right. Like, I don't necessarily think I should have the solution. My only solution so far is like, I stopped apologizing in the water unless I actually do something like, outside of etiquette or, have that boo-boo where I actually did drop in on someone because I didn't realize because X, Y, and Z.
Okay. Autumn, may I share a little bit of the story from the summer?
Of course.
So it was, the way I see it, I was part of it as well, because there was actually two parts. So the one part, because I remember you paddling over to me and turning to me and saying, Kwame, did I do something wrong when you were paddling for your waves? And Zoe and Carolyn, that's reminded me of, what you said with the why should I change? And in this case, it was, she was going for her waves and, she was paddling for her waves, taking her waves, and this guy started getting a little bit aggro. He's like, oh, you're taking all our waves. So she paddled over to me and said, Kwame, did I do something wrong? To which my response was, no, you haven't done anything. What, don't say sorry. You haven't done anything at all. All you're doing is going for your waves. Give a wave, take a wave. And if they have a problem with it, then that's on them. And then afterwards, which is the scenario that you're referring to with the pictures and everything, I really was actually I'm just going to say it, I was actually very proud of you. I was very, very proud of you, because at that point, because I remember our conversation, we had a very long conversation, and I said, you do what you need to do to put yourself in your comfortable space. So nobody should be able to chase you out of the water at all. So yeah, if it means anything, I was extremely proud of you.
Thank you for that.
So Alexis, actually, so this question is for you. So now you had spoken about an experience you had where you took a lesson and the instructor decided that for whatever reason that he's not actually doing his job. He's just going to stay there and hit on you and so on and so forth. Um, have you ever experienced any other, level of discomfort? I mean, you don't have to give the exact story, but like that. In addition to that, when we were speaking before this started, you'd spoken about the over sexualization of women in the surf community and in the corporate surf community. So can you speak about that a little bit as well?
Yeah, so it definitely wasn't the first time that that's happened to me with the lesson incident. I would say taking it on a different level. I had another lesson once where the instructor, and I had been surfing 2 years at this point. I like to take lessons when I travel to different breaks just because I like to do the whole respect the local break, learn about it as much as you can. So I figure if you're an instructor, you've been there for forever, so I can learn from you, right? He takes me into the whitewash, and I noticed I had watched his lesson before mine where he had like an 8-year-old, and he took the 8-year-old all the way out to the break. Okay, so it's just kind of like this 8-year-old boy gets to go all the way out to the break, but you're trying to keep me in the whitewash because you think that's what my ability is. So that was a whole nother thing where you just assume that I don't know how to surf or I don't know what I'm doing because I'm a woman. So that was one thing. Then the other thing, just in terms of just like the industry, I just noticed that, everyone has to be in a bikini. It took me a very long time to find appropriate gear, especially Autumn. We talked about this a little bit before the call, just finding like winter gear. That was just a whole charade for me as well, just to be able to find a suit and suits that fit me well. And I noticed that most of the brands, I've tried almost all of them. And, to Zoe's point, the shoulders are always tight, so it's to the point where sometimes I buy men's suits in a size small because those just tend to fit me better. We're swimmers, we're surfers, we have very broad backs. A lot of women who swim and surf, the same with men. Those are the muscles that get worked the most. So I'm just like, why has no thought been put into designing the appropriate gear for the appropriate sport? So I just think it's just an industry-wide problem. I'm really happy that it's starting now to be addressed on a more worldwide international level. And I just think we have to keep pushing the bill forward. We already have, the equal pay campaign going on, but I think to take it a step forward, we definitely need to make sure that women have appropriate gear because we're athletes. And I think that's what people forget is like, we are athletes.
Actually, one thing I'm going to say about that is also last year. So those of you who don't know, I broke my foot surfing last year in the summer. So I was out of the water until October. I was completely miserable, but it gave me a lot of time to do like a lot of research. And I found this board shaper in California. And I saw her again on a podcast with Cassia Medor. And she was talking about how the majority of surfboards are actually shaped and made for men. Because and she would shape a board specifically for a woman, and almost every one of her clients would come back and go, this board is amazing. It's like this is the magic stick for me. This is the perfect board for me because almost every other board that you've ever used has been made with men in mind or just by default. Okay, this is how the surfer rides and just keep going. So it's not only wetsuits, to take the point, wetsuits, boards, fins, leashes, almost everything is made with, males in mind, apparently. Okay. We do have a couple of questions. First one is, have any of you considered creating a group to promote surfing with females and educate the community on these concerns? Anyone?
We have not created a specific group for female surfers, but I mean, my favorite sessions are when we text. We have a group of, I think, like a group thread of like 12 or 13 different female surfers. A lot of them are part of La Rubea, and we do send this mass text saying like, hey, we're going out, waves look good, and we'll get like a crew of like 12, 15 women out there surfing, and those are always the best. But honestly, I think, we were talking about like women not having to do the labor. I think we need men to be listening to this, like I would love for a whole group, I would love for the whole male community of Rockaway to be listening to this. Kwame, I did actually recall an instance where I felt, I guess it was less aggressive predatory behavior, but definitely passive aggressive, that I want to share, because I think it says a lot about men respecting female surfers. But I was in a really, really good session. It was a locals day only. It was an evening session. The sun had already set. It was kind of dark, but it was like perfect waves, like 3 to 5 feet, clean. The winds on the forecast looked really bad, so no one was out except like a group of 10 people. I was the only woman out there. And I noticed, I was like, wow, it's like perfectly breaking. And I feel pretty confident in these kind of conditions. But I like saw them eyeing me as I got into the water. And I'm like, oh, I know I'm being pigeonholed as like the girl that shouldn't really be out here. This is our break. And they were blocking for each other. Like I would paddle up and try and get to near this peak, because it like there must have been a sandbar, because it was like peaking perfectly and actually a right wave. And I like right waves. And they kept blocking for each other. So I'd like paddle up to the peak, and then the other guy would swoop in and they kept rotating. And this other person who was probably less experienced than me and me were just like sitting way on the inside, like not catching anything, because they were all protecting this peak. Finally, I'm like, this is so messed up. I was just like, I literally paddled beeline right for the center of the thing. I was like, get the F away. And I caught waves. And like, as soon as I caught waves, and I caught a good one, they were like, oh, right, okay, rad. And then they all like respected me. But in that moment, and that other person who was less experienced never made it into the peak and probably was intimidated, right? And it made me realize, okay, so first of all, they were, you know, definitely discriminating against me and not letting me into the peak. Once I proved myself, then they let me in. But that's exceptionalism. That's saying we accept a woman if she has the right level of surfing, or she's strong enough, or she's better at paddling, or we want to take her on a date, or whatever it is. And that's respecting a woman. You know, you have to respect all female surfers, right? And it's not something that we have to fight for. It shouldn't be something that we have to fight for, and it shouldn't be something that you decide to respect women based on whether you want to take them on a date or whether they're better than you, right? So yeah, that's just one thing. And then the other thing that I want to add just about predatory behavior, because we did mention men, I think that dynamic definitely is dangerous because it trickles down and affects the way women treat each other.
Yes.
And I have not personally experienced this, but I have witnessed a lot of women versus women aggression in the water that is 100% predatory. And I think where it comes from is this, again, like there's a quota of women that are allowed into the boys club. And so therefore we all are pitted against each other to be that cool girl that can surf with the guys. And therefore I've seen like a ton of women be really, really nasty, snake other women, disrespect them, verbally abuse them in the water. And you know, I think we as females need to be super aware of that and make sure that we're being supportive of each other. And you know, yeah, we need to be supportive of each other foremost, but also make sure that we're including the men identifying people in our community in these conversations.
Absolutely. And if I can add, Alexis and Carolyn and Zoe, thank you all for sharing your stories in regards to predatory behavior. Kwame, what is the solution? What is the solution to address men who are sexually harassing women in the water, sexually harassing women out of the water, just altogether, surfers sexually harassing other surfers? What is the solution?
Well, I think, and if you're actually asking me this, I think the first step actually is this, because it is very easy for someone to look to the side and go, yeah, and just keep moving and say that didn't happen, or I didn't see that happen, or whatever. She's just talking about that. But when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 women saying, yes, it does happen, and having those 6 women talking to other women saying, has this ever happened to you? And the other saying, yes, it has happened. And then bringing it to the men and go, look, this has happened. At a certain point, then they can't deny it anymore. There is no way that they can deny it anymore. You know, there is, at one point, one of my favorite documentaries is the documentary Whitewash. And there's a line in there where I forget who it is, but he says, "I don't want to be." Actually, I think it's Selma. He says, "I don't want to be a black surfer. I just want to be a surfer." Um, and I used to take that, and I used to say that to a lot of people. Like, I just want to surf. That's it. I don't want to be a black surfer. I don't want to be a male surfer. I just want to surf. I just want to be a surfer. But what I've realized is that I can't do that. I absolutely cannot say I don't want to be, because that is ignoring a part of who I am. And another part of who I am is, to see the toxic behavior that exists and to address it. I cannot ignore it. So, I mean, I don't know if anyone, I mean, HR, Autumn, I know you guys have surfed with me before, but I will paddle out in the lineup and I have like the biggest grin on my face because I'm just happy to see people out there. So if you are going, and it doesn't matter if you're male, female, black, white, Asian, doesn't matter. As long as you're enjoying yourself and your board is not flying at my head, then we're good. So I think that type of mentality needs to be pushed out to people more, and not just like if someone drops in on your wave because they see you as being weak, then not just paddle over to the person and say, "Oh yeah, dude, you shouldn't have done that." No, actually call them out on it. And if someone is being disrespectful to someone on land, or if someone is actually preying on somebody on land using their position to prey on somebody, then yeah, actually call them on it. And because I realize that I am in a different position from a lot of other males, but my whole take on it is, what's the worst you can do to me? Tell me I can't go in the water? I'll just go down 2 beaches. I'll go into the water there. So for men to actually start using the fact that they can approach other men and say, you should not be doing that. That is not cool. This is not right for you to do this. Stop doing this. And not just push it to the side, but actually look at it and say, this is something that does exist, admit that it exists, and then just keep on and keep on moving with it. I mean, it's the same thing as with, Black Lives Matter and getting justice for those individuals. It was not the first time somebody was arrested by the cops and died in their while in custody, but people just kept at it, and so now all of a sudden everyone knows about it, and this is something that we need to do for this. Just keep letting everyone know of the injustice that exists, and the dichotomy that exists within the surf community for this. I mean, I know it's not an answer that's going to fix everything tomorrow, but I can say to you without a doubt that I'm willing and able and definitely ready to help the best way I can.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, calling them out is good, but also because again, especially when it's someone who is in a position where they have attention and in a way power, right? And they have the support of other people. Sometimes they have the support of other people no matter what their actions are, no matter how poor or terrible their actions are, because right now it's just one person's or a few people's word against this person who they want to align themselves with. But yes, you're right. We need to speak up and speak out, but also there will be that back push. And what we'll have to do is stand strong together and support each other going forward in regards to that. But I'm just trying to think of what is the constructive way to do that, though, to speak up and speak out. Because sometimes going up, when we speak of safe spaces, sometimes it's not safe to go up to that person directly and to speak up and speak out about the wrong that they are doing. There's a danger in that sometimes, especially being a woman. There could be a danger in that, the reaction or the repercussions of doing that. So yeah, what are other alternatives?
Yeah, and that's why, I think that, honestly, I don't think we're going to come up with the answer in 15 minutes, but to me, this is the start. And, over a period of time, I plan to keep the conversations going until everyone finds a place where, okay, we are comfortable with this. This is what we can do. This is what we will do. This is what we must do. And just keep moving forward with it until, the light has been shined on it completely.
I wanted to say something. I found myself asking that question when I had that situation in the water where those men were disgusting. Their behavior was just not okay. And I wanted to confront them. I wanted to be like, why would you do that? But I did not feel like it was a welcoming environment or a dynamic where I could have approached that person. And I remember calling you, Kwame, and being like, do I message this person? Do I say like, hey, this is not okay, you can't do this to women? And that ended up not being the route that I went down. I ended up making a post speaking about how the feelings, just kind of a conversation like this on Instagram. And what I found was a whole group of women, a huge community, they were all messaging me, bombarding me with similar stories. And I found that it created a space of healing and expression. So I found that that was a lot more beneficial for me personally than speaking to someone who probably would not have received me in a constructive manner. So when you say, oh, this is the first step, Kwame, I think this is perfect because now I'm connected with a bunch of women that I would not have been connected with. And now I can say, oh, hey, are you paddling out? Cool. And when they see a group of women out there together, they're way less likely to be as aggressive and predatory towards us. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I just want to read this one really quickly. There's no excuse for this type of behavior mentioned. Staring, comments, harassment. As a male surfer, I feel ashamed. There are also other shameful surf behavior that unfortunately, not just targeting women, general selfishness, stealing waves, aggressive behavior in the water is as if one, perhaps males more than females, it's as if as one, perhaps males more than females progress in surfing, they feed on those who are less skilled. It's a weird stratification in the water that seems to be part of accepted surf culture, and this should not be. Another comment, I believe that accountability not always means directly calling out a person or entity, but the behavior. Calling out the behavior allows people who feel uncomfortable about the behavior to possibly be open to speaking about it with others who are actively calling out that same behavior. Also, by calling out the behavior by default ends up not singling out that person who is practicing those toxic behaviors. Now, one person asked, what can I do as a male surfer to encourage a more inclusive environment in the water for everyone and combat these aggressions towards women? I think we spoke a little bit about that as well. Zoe's comment on having to embrace and prepare yourselves to be ready to confront men about the behavior really resonates with me. I have moments when I replay those instances and analyze so many different ways I should have responded back. To the panelists, there's a question to the panelists. What advice might you have for someone who struggles to even process the situation and to respond in a timely manner? So the question is someone who, they've experienced this, and at that point, I guess their initial reaction, and viewer, forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, their initial reaction is to pull away from the situation, and after they think about it, they realize that they could have done something differently. They're asking for what advice do you, if any, do you have that's for someone who struggles to process the situation right away and respond at that moment?
So I've been in that situation of a few times this summer where I had the right of way, and there were different men who were on the inside, and they dropped in on a wave that I just popped up on. And I too was frustrated. I was upset. I didn't say anything to them right away. I just distanced myself and was just really upset and angry and just felt really disrespected. But now I am more about speaking up early, immediately, and talking to them and letting them know, hey, I have the right of way. I deserve to be out here as much as you do. I had that wave. Like, please respect me in the water, or not even beg them. Respect me in the water. I'm a surfer just like you out here. Respect me in the water. So I believe that you should I don't want to use the word confront, but you should actually go to that person and speak to them and let them know what they have done, how they have wronged you, and just let them know that you are a surfer out here in the water and you deserve to be out here as much as they do. And say something right away as opposed to just letting it go and fester, which is what I did, and I regret doing that. I wish I would have spoke up sooner.
Anyone
I'm
else?
also the worst at this because I'm not a confrontational person. So I just tell myself that they probably didn't know better and I just need to like educate them about what their behavior is and act like it's not a confrontation. Like it's just like an educating moment. Maybe they took some surf lessons and just like nobody ever told them how to act. So I just try to look at it like that. Instead of, because the second I start coming out of my character, the more I do in the water, the worse I serve, the more aggravated I am, and like the more hostile the environment around me feels. So I just try to do my best to just like keep it as level and be like, this is no big deal. Just gonna let them know. And the whatever I do not apologize for like things that aren't my fault, which seems silly, but all the time. Someone would drop it on me, I crash into them because they dropped in too close. And then I apologize to them when honestly, no, like I should not. They need to apologize to me, if anything. I mean, they should be okay. Like everyone, no one should get hurt, but.
I'm
Sorry, go ahead, Autumn.
I've typically taken the route where I paddle somewhere else, or I'm like, oh my gosh, was my etiquette okay? Questioning, and then it leads to a horrible surf session. But now I've been able to be around a lot of women who either they take the aggressive route where they're confrontational, and it can either be like a success or it can go the other way. But I've seen a new approach where it's just like, well, there will be some men who are literally just next to me and they'll be like talk to their friend or talk to themselves about me and be like, this person has no idea what they're doing. Like, why are they out here? And then it's just like, okay, hey, how are you? And you like, I'm a whole person and you should understand that. Or it's just like, do you want to be the reason why I stopped surfing? No. And so that kind of takes them aback and it places responsibility. But that's definitely something new I've been learning.
Two things actually, which I'm just going to mention right now. I find it interesting that the term that I think everyone has used, you've used the term aggressive, the aggressive approach. And the reason why I find it interesting, because I've actually had conversations with people before, and whenever I speak with them, and let's say they're paddling out and someone drops in on them, or someone starts arguing with them about it, and they come to me and they ask me about it. And Autumn, I don't know if you remember this or not, but in our conversations, my response to you is, well, then take the direct approach, because and I think that. But so I guess my question is, do you see a difference between a direct approach and an aggressive approach with someone who is basically trying to just being really aggro in the water?
Well, yeah, that approach of being confronting them in a way that's just like, hi, I'm don't treat me this way. I would not treat you this way. Don't do that to me. I think that can be really beneficial, but I don't think everyone responds to that because, I mean, they're treating you that way for a reason. They don't respect you. They don't have respect for women. And so when that is their energy, sometimes being aggressive is the only way that you come up to their level. So I think it depends on the individual.
And Carolyn, my next question is actually for you. So something Zoe said, where she's like, she may feel like she's paddling into a wave, and if she crashes into someone, or then she feels like she wants to apologize for it, or she did something wrong, or so on. So in your situation, and you're the one who, like I said, asked me the question. In your situation, was there ever, in the beginning, was there any doubt in your mind that where you thought that, okay, maybe it's just me, or were you at the point like, okay, I know what this is, I'm going to speak with other people, I've seen it, and then this is just wrong?
I mean, I think for women, there's always I always feel like I get red flags right away. And because I was there for my daughter who fell in love with surfing, I said to myself, okay, let me just kind of look the other way this one time because I don't want to ruin this opportunity for my daughter. And then it just became like too much, right? And sometimes I would be like, did I really see that? Did I really just experience that? I had to second guess myself, right? And from what I learned from the experience is that a woman's intuition is always correct. And a lot of that was happening off land too, right? And it just became so too much. And you know, for my fault was I put my daughter interest in surfing over, I guess, the well-being of the situation. So I never said anything, and I kind of swept it under the rug. But I know that is wrong. But I just saw, and after that had happened to me, and speaking to other women, then I realized that there is a long history of toxic behavior from this one particular person. And when I talked about accountability and what does that look like, you know, I don't know, but this person holds so much power in this community that, you know, this person gets sponsorships, this person gets big time media interviews, right? This is a person that when they think of surfing, they get the attention. And I think that's very dangerous, right? Like this person holds a lot of power. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I came on here with the intention. I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm tired of it. I'm gonna name this person. I don't know. I don't know if I feel safe doing so.
Understood completely.
I mean, yeah.
No, I mean, I completely understand. And yeah, but it's like I said in the beginning, you know, I didn't start this off with the idea that we will have an answer for anybody or answer for either one of you, any of you, you know, at the end of 60 minutes, because if I even thought about that, then I would not be taking this very seriously. You know, I see it as definitely a process. You know, anyone who's spoken with me, you know, knows that you speak with me for maybe about within 10 minutes, I will have some analogy connected to the ocean and the waves, and like, oh yeah, life is like a wave, and da, 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 da. But you know, just listening to everything that you guys have been saying and some of the comments I'm seeing come through, you know, I know that, you know, they are, and it is being recorded, and I will post it for other people to see it. So just let everyone know that it will be put up. And it's like you said, I mean, I think it was you, Etong, you said that, you know, you described it as toxic behavior. And this toxic behavior, it has to stop, you know. It's, I know many female surfers, you know, one of my favorite Rockaway surfers is female, and she is supposedly stuck in Indonesia right now. We all know better, but you know, I mean, and she's you know, she's an amazing person. And whenever she paddles out, you know, we'll joke, we laugh, you know, she has respect for everyone else in the lineup, and they give her respect as well. But this whole idea that you have to prove yourself in the lineup first, and then you have to prove that you can surf, especially if you're female in the lineup, you know, so almost like you have to climb up 2 levels as opposed to, you know, a male who paddles out there and goes, oh yeah, okay, I'm a guy, so I already have that going for me. Now I got to just prove I can surf, and then I'll get the respect. It should not be. You know, I joke with Autumn all the time when I tell her, like, look, I will drop in on you, but not because you're a woman, because you're you. That's the reason I'm going to drop in on you, because you always take my waves anyway. So, but it's because we are friends. You know, if I don't know you and I'm paddling for a wave, I will pull back. And I know many males who will do the same as well, because they actually have the respect, not because of whether you're male or female, but because of, you know, you're a surfer like them, and they're there just to enjoy the water. And, you know, I also know many, because I work with a surf school, I know many surf instructors as well who they make it a point, and they're very, very, very careful about working with with female students. You know, when they're pushing people into waves, you know, they always have, they get ready, start to paddle, 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 pop up. I had one instructor who was a newbie actually come to me one time and said, okay, I need to adjust her stance, but how do I adjust her stance without touching her? Because I'm a little concerned about that. You know, and I actually had to show him, okay, here's what you do, you know, just use your fingers and just shoulders and knees, and that's it, nothing else. So there are people out there who are aware of it. You know, last question, how can we protect others who are currently enduring these types of situations? Especially in cases where we've been in situations similar with the same people. I mean, I'm not going to try to give the ultimate answer. You know, my answer to that would be basically, like I said, doing what we're doing right now, because this, I really want to impress upon people, and please believe me, this is just the first step. You know, I don't think it's going to be over in a couple of days, a couple of months, and then everything will just magically change. But I know there are males out there who are up for the challenge, ready to support in any way possible that they can. And I know that there are females out there who are also up for the challenge. So it is going to be, it may be a long haul, but you know, you guys definitely have people and people following you and to have your back with this. And the last one is, thank you, Kwame, for, oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Kwame, for facilitating, and for the panelists for sharing their stories. Thankful for the love and support I personally felt in tonight's conversation. And I'm looking forward to many more of these moments to help this community heal and grow. You are very welcome. And like I said, this is absolutely not the last one that we will have. You know, we will have other conversations about this. We will be discussing this more. We will develop action plans for this, because nobody should ever feel, I mean, the beach to me and the ocean to me is a sacred place. And nobody should ever feel like they are that they do not belong there or feel uncomfortable in a sacred place. Let me look like you want to say something?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
This conversation I have this one like loud question. Do we as a collective think it's important to name these people by name?
Well, I would say we can name the individuals by name on this, but we have to all I would say we would have to agree to name the individuals by name. Everyone would have to agree to do so.
And even just in any situation, if we see toxic behavior, predatory behavior, do we think it's our responsibility to name these people so this behavior is not perpetuated?
I cannot speak for everyone else. I mean, I'm just saying for myself, if I see something specifically, then I'm going to name names, but I'm different from every other person. Each person is different. So once again, I want everyone to be able to be comfortable with that before, and comfortable and have not a group consensus, but have a general consensus to say, this is the path that we are going to follow. Have everyone ready for that to happen.
Can I just say something? So, you know, I've just been thinking about it, and I think part of how we stop is, you know, we call it out. And I can only speak to my own experience, and I am comfortable with calling out who impacted me this way this summer. I don't know, and if that's okay with everybody else on this panel, I am down to do that, because I think that this person has a long history of toxic behavior that needs to stop, and this person has too much power to continue to be given respect. So,
right, we're all talking about Lou Harris from Black Surfing Association, right? Just so we're all clear.
Okay. So the name is out there.
And that's just one that I have experience with. I don't, you know, if there are any others, I just think it's time that we kind of start cleaning house, you know, because this is a time where, you know, we're in this whole Black Lives Matters, where, you know, there's so many other things that we have to fight with and fight for, and we cannot give energy to these toxic things anymore. Every industry is cleaning house, and surf community, especially for women of color, people of color, has to be done, because that platform is too big. It's
Yep.
too wide. And
Yep.
if something were to get out on that, it's going to tear all the rest of us down with it. And it just
Yep.
has to stop. So
I agree.
that's where we can
All right.
definitely continue this conversation for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Carolyn. I wholeheartedly agree with that. To not say anything and let this which allows this person to continue this behavior, right? Because we've learned that they've been doing this for years now. So we no longer want to give them that platform to continue this toxic behavior.
Yeah, and we need to keep our children safe, honestly.
Absolutely.
Our community safe. Because if we don't stop them, there will be more victims.
Absolutely.
Almost being complicit if you're not speaking up and protecting our community.
Exactly.
I'm just going to read one more. Thank you so much, everyone, Kwame and our panelists, for sharing and creating this space and holding this incredibly important discussion. And could you all share each other's contact info if you feel comfortable with it? And for the women, female surfers identifying, for the women, female identifying surfers, my dyslexia kicked in there for a second, to be able to reach out to surf together or to be able to find community amongst you very rad people. So if you are comfortable with it, that's fine. If you are not comfortable with it, putting it, because this, like I said, this is recorded and it will be put online, then, that's fine as well. But, I would say that you can pretty much find anyone here on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can reach out to them that way. Okay. It is 8:08. I'm trying to be cognizant of everyone's time. So if anyone has anything else that they'd like to add in? No? Okay. Sorry?
I just wanted to thank everyone, especially, getting a little out of your comfort zone. And I also want to thank anyone that's ever stuck up for me in the water, because I remember every moment that someone's been called out for their behavior towards me in the water, and I remember every person that has done that, and it makes a massive impact on someone's progression and someone's mood and everything else. So thanks.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on that. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to experience an encouraging environment and people a part of this community. I did not always see this. I didn't always feel a part of it, but it's so wonderful to feel that way now.
Absolutely. I'm going to go off of that as well. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your stories. Thank you, Alexis, for calling out the predator. Thank you, Carolyn, for bringing attention, for asking this question, this important question that brought us all here today. Thank you all so much. And I look forward to seeing you all in the water.
Thank you, everyone, too. I'm piggybacking off of Peyton because she's very nice to me, but thank you. Really appreciate your bravery. And I think we just need to keep having these conversations in our own, social circles. So thank you to everybody who's listening. If you are a male surfer, have these conversations with your male surfing friends. Stand up for people in the water and lead by example. So thank you so much. Thank you, Kwame, for moderating this.
Yes, thank you,
panel.
Kwame.
Yes, thank you, Kwame, for the introduction. And yes, lead by example. I love that term. That is definitely something that I do every day.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Ladies, thank you so much for, this is my thank yous now. Mahalo, thank you so much for taking part in this. I know it could not have been the most comfortable thing to do, and I really appreciate you guys doing this with us. And like I said, this is the first, but it's definitely not going to be the last. And we will continue the conversation. We will continue the discussion, and there'll be other topics, other discussions, and we'll just keep going through this until, I'm not going to say every single person feels comfortable in the water, but until, the discomfort that they feel is not brought on by somebody else. If you're uncomfortable because the wave is too big for you, that's another story. But you should not feel that you're uncomfortable because you do not belong there, or because you do not belong on the beach or on the sand or anything like that. Okay. So once again, thank you, mahalo. Really appreciate it. Have a good night, all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.